Hello and welcome to today's video. So this time we'll be taking a look at my relatively small collection of American vintage penguin paperbacks and also the ones published by the Infantry Journal for the fighting forces during the war. So without further ado, sit back, relax, and let's get to it. Okay then, so we start with this one, which is Genghis Khan. Now this one's numbered 516. It's a Fighting Forces Penguin Special on the top, and it's got the Infantry Journal, which we'll see quite a bit of today, as well as the Penguin Books logo on the right hand side. And Alan Lane in the UK was very keen for Penguin to get launched in America, and he tasked Ian and Betty Ballantyne to launch the Penguins over there, which they did with considerable success before they eventually left and formed Ballantyne Books. So I've got not a massive collection of these, but the ones that I have got I think are really interesting. So they're obviously quite difficult to find over in the UK. This one's a 6 printing. From 1945, first published in 1942. Yeah, you don't often come across them in the UK, but I have found a couple over here, and I've had a couple of various dealers over the years. I picked up some out in the States, but not many. I remember picking up a couple in the Strand in New York's Rare Book Room. They had a few. They had like a bookcase of paperbacks. And this is 525, a book of sonnets. And like the British ones, they have different coloured covers denoting different sorts of subject matter. That one is a first from 43. Here's a crime one. So obviously crime is green again, and these I guess are the most collected of them all. These and perhaps some of the earlier specials. It's got look, War Prisoners something World's Committee, YMCA, Geneva, War Prisoners. So this might have been a copy that was given out to prisoners of war who'd managed to escape and get to Switzerland. How cool would that be to think that that's been through that little escapade? That would be nice, wouldn't it? Blind Barbara. I think this was the very first American one that I got many years ago now. I remember thinking, wow, look at this. That's 1943. And when you think of the British penguins that were being published around that time, these American ones didn't know how good they had it, did they? 531, drawn conclusion. I'd definitely like to get some more of these, but they're not massively top of my wants list or anything, just because they've been so difficult to track down over the years. December 43, that one. But if I got lucky and got a little collection, then maybe I might change my mind. Murder Enters the Picture. This is 542. But I'm not even overly worried about having them all in first printings. There we are. So there's a little list at the back there. S81, which is a special. Then aircraft recognition. Then some in the 200s, which is all the special numbers, which we will have a look at in a minute. And then the numbering starting at 500. This is August 44 for that one. This is 550, To Walk the Night, a novel by William Sloane. Apparently, when I first looked at this in a recent video, it looked like non-fiction because on the back it was non-fiction, but apparently not. It says, To Walk the Night is not, as its title might seem to suggest, a mere ghost story. Finely developed characters. There we are. And apparently it's a bit of a classic. So that's the Penguin first from November 1944. 568. This one's got like a laminated cover. Night Flight. Antoine de Saint-Exupéry. This has been in a bit of action. November 1945. And the last one in this sort of run in this format, 571, Death Down East. So basic cover art crept in now to keep up with the rest of the market. Bit of a loose page there. Can't actually see the printing history on this one, but I'm not going to dwell. Yeah, it's got a bit of a loose page come out. So apart from that, it's a nice copy. And then I think what we'll do, we'll look at the earlier specials now, because these were published around the same time. Then we'll do the later Penguin issues. This is S81. Not sure if this is a first again. I don't think so. But it was the first one published. Yes, this is the fifth from April 1944, Russia. This one I've got a couple of copies of. This is a really nice one, but it is a reprint. I think this is a massive seller, you know. Yes, this is the second edition from April 1944. This one here has got lots of, it's got an R number, like regiment, 0252. It's on the bottom there as well. So I'm not sure if this is the first of this one. Yeah, it is. This is the very first printing, but as you can see, it's seen a bit of action. And then we've got the second, which is in sort of much better condition. Very nice edition of Steinbeck's Moon is Down, S219. These are a Fighting Forces Penguin special, very much aimed at the armed services. And I find these much more interesting than the regular released American Penguins of this period. British Navy's Air Arm. Because of course not all of these got published as specials in Britain. They're fantastic. (1944). Very nice. They were expendable. This is S223. Lovely. S224, A Short History of the Army and Navy. 24 maps. I don't remember getting this one actually. Maybe this is one that came my way fairly recently, I don't remember. First edition, March 1944. 227, this is the Navy. This has got some stamps in as well. Oh, it's got an ex-library thing pasted in. It's interesting, isn't it? Second print from 1944. I said I'm not really too worried if I've got reprints of some of these, because they're such curiosities. I just like to have them in any edition. This is quite a beaten up one. S238 Storm. Yeah, this was the first from June 1944. S240, Island Victory. This is for the around the time of the Pacific conflict now. There we are, October 44. Yep, leading up to sending men out to towards Japan. So that's all my Penguin Fighting Forces Penguin specials. So as I said, this is sort of a video in 3 parts. In fact, almost 4 parts. So I'll put them over there. So alongside the Penguin Fighting Forces Penguin specials. The Infantry Journal itself published non-Penguin books, basically. These are all aimed at the armed forces, and I did pick up quite a little run of these. It was perhaps 15 to 20 years ago, I really don't remember, but they were all from one, they were in a little batch that I got from America direct, and these were all books which were in absolutely like almost pristine unread condition, and all I can think of is that the books were bought for a particular soldier who perhaps never ended up getting them. It's this one, yeah, first edition of the Fighting Forces series, May 1944. And when I looked at the other sorts of books that were being offered by the seller, it looked as if they were perhaps something that someone had inherited and didn't quite know what to do with. But there you are. So these are all books from that same collection, lovely condition, and aimed at someone who was obviously either in the Pacific conflict or was heading there and perhaps didn't quite make it, and they were bought for them. Reptiles of the Pacific, where, as you can see, they're in beautiful condition for their age. I mean, absolutely phenomenal. These are now 80 plus years old, and or almost 80 years old. This was July 45, the tail end of the war. And evidently these never got shipped out to the service personnel they were intended for. But although not Penguin, they are Infantry Journal, which did team up with Penguin, and I find them absolutely fascinating. And I can't imagine hundreds of copies of these have survived, to be honest. Another one here, Burma Surgeon. Yeah, I never did think to ask, what's the sort of history behind these books, where have they come from? Because they are quite special, as you can see. They're really nice. This one's a bit more traditional in the style of like the Penguins, even though it's not. It's just a normal infantry journal. US Marines on Iwo Jima. Absolutely classic history of that bit of the war. Very nice book, that. Flag raising, look at that. It's a beauty, isn't it? And this was the first edition from July 45. Very near the end of the war now. That's a cracker, that one, isn't it? Studies on War. This is a slightly larger format now, more traditional A format. Fighting Forces series. These all came as part of that same collection I was telling you about. 1943, that one's dated. A military affairs reader. Here's another slightly taller one. Sergeant Terry Bull. His ideas on war and fighting in general. Sort of tall and thin, probably designed to go into a soldier's pocket. And this last one here is not even Penguin or Infantry Journal, it's a Bantam, early Bantam, part of that same collection, so I've kept them all together. And this was back home, so this is what to do when you've come back from the war and rehabilitating yourself after the conflict. So once again, all these particular books from that one little collection were all designed or aimed at a soldier towards the end of their career. Very interesting. So one last little bit to look at. So the last part are the books which came after the war, and I thought I'd dig this little American catalogue out. So this is from fall 1951, and it was at Paperbacks Bridge, which was on the 5th floor of Hutzler's, Baltimore, Maryland. And this is just a tiny little Penguin dedicated catalogue specifically to the Penguin books and broken down into the different series there. Some of these would have been imports, of course, and some of them would have been American editions, which we'll look at in a minute. Lovely, isn't it? I love these little bits of ephemera because, you know, how many have survived, really, you know? Probably not that many. There's that one, and these relate to these books here. So this carries on. So this is number 574. So this is carrying on the numbering from over there, but by this time the books have become more traditional A format, and in almost all cases they've now got illustrated front jackets, the same as other American books of the time, so they're at least keeping up to date. This is January 46, this one, to give you a little idea of when these were published. I've only got a handful of these. Vein of Iron, 583. Laminated cover on these. This is a very nice one. This is Orlando, Virginia Woolf. Nice edition of that one. I mean, these later ones aren't particularly expensive when you find them. You know, they're like £3 to £5 a book sort of thing, maybe even less than that. They're not massively collectible. April 1946, but I'd love to have a few more of these, but you know, as I said, I don't go out of my way to find them. These are just ones that have ended up coming my way. This is a great one by James Cain. Mildred Pierce. This is one I remember buying in New York in the Strand's Rare Book Room. Picked this one up, The Voice of Bugle Ann. Bit of a offbeat tile, quite a thin little one. That's almost a puffin. This is October 47, that one. This is an American Penguin guide, so I thought this is quite cool because it just looks at the state of California, and this is guide number 1, G1. Went to California a few years back. Absolutely lovely state. July 47, that one. And then we've got this one, which is P15, which is a pelican. It's an American pelican. Emerson. The Basic Writings of America's Sage. And this old pelican was also March 1947. So there you go. Hope you've enjoyed looking through that little collection of American Penguin books. Certainly some really interesting stuff there, and I certainly love them. I'd love to get a few more, but you know, as and when they come my way. If you've enjoyed today's video, do please give it a thumbs up. Do please hit the subscribe button for regular vintage paperback content, and I look forward to seeing you again very soon. Bye.